Good morning. My name is Simon Alfred, and today I will be talking about climate change. So I want to elaborate on why we'll be talking about climate change. So over the course of this semester, I had the chance to look within my career field and find an issue that I was very interested in, and the issue that I chose was climate change. So yeah, let's get started. So, climate change, I just said, is one of the major environmental issues that we have today. So, what is climate change? Climate change is a long-haul change in normal examples that permit us to characterize Earth's local, regional, worldwide atmosphere. A good example of climate change would be Antarctica. Currently in Antarctica, we have tons of glaciers melting, which is something that we would not characterize as normal. It's a very extreme change for the environment, and it would have a very extreme repercussion of it on it. Um, for example, when speaking about Antarctica, sea levels would tend to rise. You have a lot of polar bears starting to leave. Well, yeah, leave Antarctica due to the glaciers melting and the temperature starting to rise. So why is this important? Why should we care? We should care because climate change can affect so much stuff. It can affect our food production, our water availability, our wildlife and ecosystem. It can even affect our own human health. So when I speak on food production, with climate change, it tends to deals with the weather and the seasons. So if we have longer winters and shorter springs, we won't really have the time to produce and harvest our food. And I would say the same thing with water availability. With different types of weather, if it tends to be hot or we get continuous heat waves, we will eventually have droughts. We will see various more cases of droughts and stuff like that. With wildlife and ecosystems, as of today, there are numerous, like various amounts of species and animals that are going extinct or are endangered of going extinct due to the result of climate change. A lot of these animals are either losing their habitat or they do not have the ability to adjust to different climates or to adjust to different climates. This could affect the human health itself because as climate change grows, the heat will continue to rise, and all the problems that I just discussed, they will tend to explode. And then we will develop our own physical problems, which will eventually lead to mental health problems. And as a result of our physical health worsening, we will become less curable, so we really won't be able to produce vaccines or keep updated with our health because of our extreme exhaustion from the heat. Um, and after that, our physical health worsens. We will eventually lose our mental stability. Like it will start to deteriorate. And as extreme heat will start to make our landscapes dry. So like our cities, our streets, we will become very dry. And knowing nature, we will become prone to spontaneous fires. So a lot of this stuff contributes to our everyday life, which is why it should be so important to everyone out there. So continuing on from what I just said, um, air pollution plays a big role in climate change too, with the amount of carbon dioxide being emitted into the air. It is damaging our ozone layer, which is the layer that protects us from the radiation that the sun gives off. Um, I keep saying when moving on to deforestation. Deforestation is important because without trees, there's no oxygen. Without oxygen, there's no us. As I said before, species are going extinct. So if we have Bees. If we lose bees, we can lose a lot. Bees are very important to the environment. They are important because bees they are important because it's a very important pollinator for crops. So, for example, our foods like avocado, soybeans, asparagus, broccoli, stuff like that are honeybees play an essential role in that. And without honeybees, we won't be able to really manufacture for food productions. Bees are very important in the food industry and then the ecosystem too. Um, Soil degradation is important. Overpopulation is very important because if we have too many people to feed, for example, say if we have 2 trillion people on the earth, but we only have access to 1 trillion resources for food. Those 2 trillion people, those two trillion amount of people are gonna starve due to the population being so overpopulated. So yeah. So within the paper, um, I asked myself a question and I created a claim or solution to how to fix or how to better contribution rate of to climate change. So I stated that in order for us to reduce the human contribution rate, organizations, partnerships, worldwide product dealers ought to make an ecological approach that will be set up to bringing together policies and regulations to guarantee the well-being of our environment, species, and the amount of petroleum derivative being used. So, in the next slide, I will be discussing the top 4 countries that produce the most carbon dioxide. So, as I previously stated, you know how I said organizations, partnerships, and worldwide product dealers. China and the United States, all of these countries are very these are worldwide product dealers. So, if these product dealers were to come together and build strong international environmental policies that are stricter, safer, and more safer for the environment, we could possibly reduce the amount of carbon dioxide that each country produces. Because so far, Russia produces about 1.7 billion amount of carbon dioxide. India produces 2.5 billion. The United States contributes 5.3 billion, and China contributes 9.8 billion. Starting at 2020, as of today, the U.S. is as of today since 2017, the U.S. delivers more than 6,000 of the world's carbon dioxide discharge. Expectations show that along these lines, by the year 2030, that China will create more than 10 billion of the world's carbon dioxide emissions, meaning that by the year 2030, we will probably exceed China in the production of carbon dioxide if we do not find ways to help reduce it. And also, as of 2020, oh man, I just had a major brain fart. This is my job, so okay. Environmental policies. So moving forward to solutions, I want to talk about old environmental policies that were put into place to protect the environment, just to educate us on environmental policies today. So the first policies I will talk about is the National Environmental Policy Act, also known as NEPA. It ensures that environmental factors are weighed equally when compared to other factors in decision-making process undertaken by federal agencies to establish a national environmental policy. So meaning that we basically compare things that issues in the environment and other factors under the government to establish, a sense of order in the environment. Another policy or act is the Clean Water Act. It established the basic structure for regulation discharge of pollutants into the water of the United States and regulating quality standards for surface water. So I like both of these policies. However, I feel like these could be updated. The Clean Water Act, I feel like it's not really an act being used. As a couple years ago, fast backwards, a couple years ago, Flint, Michigan has had a huge water crisis, and as to this day, it's Flint, Michigan still does not have access to clean water. So I feel like the United States Environmental Protection Agency should really get a hold and make changes to their policies, because if we do not start to take our environment serious, then the results of stuff that we don't want to happen will eventually happen. But for some solutions, I basically stated that we should push for organizations, partnerships, worldwide product dealers, and many more people that are in power to help protect and restore key ecosystems and promote green energy and combat short-lived climate pollutants and support agriculture producers. We should do all of that in order to help with the issue of climate change. We should also modify and develop environmental policies that will help reduce the carbon emission, deforestation, and overpopulation. We should create stronger policies that will protect our environment, that will serve a excellent purpose for our environment, and so much more. We should also develop regulations for human consumptions and how much we ourselves contribute to climate change. So we should put a limit on how many fossil fuels we use, on how many times or how much gas we put in our car, or we should try to limit our carbon footprint in order to reduce the amount of carbon dioxide being put into the air to ultimately make climate change reversible. And that's about it. These are my references, and thank you for tuning in.